YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and we got a lot to go over here. This is the third version of this video talking about the biggest signings in football right now and grading them. Had two other videos grading a bunch of signings, and then we have, I can't even count anymore, several videos up since free agency started yesterday between both of our channels, so go check those out. Plenty more to come, don't worry. Please subscribe to both of our channels. You'll find a link down below for our second channel where we grade trades. We grade teams based on the trades. We already had four big ones. And then there's our Twitter. It's a must follow. Breaking news, instant reactions, talking numbers, contracts, cap space, always answering questions. It's a must follow down there. You'll find all the links you need down below, as well as our new podcast, 4 episodes out, more to come, Apple, Spotify, links down below. First one we'll talk about here is DJ Reader going to the Bengals. I felt strongly about him going to the Broncos. I was feeling the Broncos for him, kind of replace Shelby Harris. And Shelby Harris, kind of one of those sneaky signings, in my opinion, heading into free agency. Whoever got him, I thought it was going to be a sneaky good signing. He's still on the market. DJ Reader signs with the Bengals. It's going to be a 4-year, $53 million deal. That's $13.25 million a year. That's a top-tier nose tackle. Him and Javon Hargrave, who just got paid yesterday, top of the market pretty easily, those two, for nose tackle money. I love the idea of Reader with Geno Atkins, a big upgrade from Andrew Billings. He's going to stop the run. Similar to Billings, that's what Billings was there for, but he's going to provide a lot more. He's going to provide that pressure. The only downside is, he really only had one good year last year. Obviously rushing inside J.J. Watt, but he has some other talent around him with the Bengals. It is a little more than I thought he would get. 13.25 is it's kind of close to what some of these pass rushers are get. So it's a little more than I expected. So that keeps it from an A, but B is still a good letter for me, a good grade for me, because I do like the idea of him and Geno Atkins there on the inside. They need to stop the run better. They're going to do that with DJ Reader. So overall, obviously, they got better here, but a good amount of money spent, which is a good thing when you get better. And then next we have just recent. The Bengals signed Tre Waynes, cornerback from the Vikings. Pretty big number here too. 3-year, $42 million. That's $14 million per year. He's actually going to get $20 million in the first year, which is the $14 million per year by average pays him the same as Marcus Peters, 6th highest paid corner. So that's a little more. It's quite a bit more than I thought he would get. I always viewed Tre Waynes as one of the more underrated players in the NFL, honestly. He is I'd call him a top-tier tackling corner, top 5 maybe in the NFL. So that's something the Bengals were kind of on the weaker end about. Secondary tackling angles, pretty terrible, honestly. But pairing him with William Jackson's pretty solid. Yeah, they did spend a lot, but I'm so back and forth on this one. I haven't made up my mind on the grade yet. In my head, I'm going back and forth between the B and the C. Why I could argue the C is because, he got a bit more money than you expected. Marcus Peters just got that deal, during the season or right when it was ending. And Tre Waynes now gets the same amount of money. So that looks bad, kind of. But at the same time, Tre Waynes, it feels like he's getting better. He was known as a bust early on in his career because he was getting torched left and right. But he was, the Vikings secondary took a step down last year. But that's because all the other corners really were playing very poorly. Tre Waynes played at a pretty solid level. I think the Bengals get a lot better here. They're gonna, having the number 1 overall pick, being a team it's not the most appealing spot. They're gonna have to pay extra, and I definitely think they got better in terms of corner and specifically where they needed to and tackling in the secondary. So I'm gonna give them a B. I don't do pluses and minuses unless it's an A plus for this. For this video, I lean towards the B minus there, but yeah, kind of back and forth, the B-C range, because it is a lot of money, but I do like Waynes, and I think he's actually getting better. Brian Bulaga goes to the Chargers. Kind of figured Chargers were definitely an option, was kind of leaning towards back to the Packers or the Cardinals, and the Packers signed Rick Wagner, so it was kind of open that Bulaga was going elsewhere. 3-year, $30 million, $10 million per year. I honestly thought he would get more. Yeah, there's some risk because he has got injured quite a bit throughout his career. It seems like more recently he's been healthier than earlier in his career, honestly, but I think it's a coincidence. I'm not saying he's going to get hurt again or anything. I'm just saying there is some injury concern there, but $10 million per year compared to, everyone everyone's getting overpaid, it feels like. It's surprising, but it really shouldn't be super surprising because the market goes up every year. But then you get Bulaga, who gets $10 million when I thought he would get 11.5 to 13 million. So, and they needed a right tackle before going in the draft because they also need a left tackle. So overall, I do like this one. I'm going to give it an A. What keeps it from an A plus is the injury concern. They could be without starting right tackle at some point, but can't really think too much about that. It's bad to think about. I'm going to give it an A. It's a good deal there for the Chargers. And now we got Jason Witten. Thought he'd be done. But he's going to sign with the Raiders. He's going to sign with the Raiders, 1 year, $4.75 million. I don't know. It's cheap. I guess it's not a whole bunch of risk in that, but I just don't really understand it. So I'm going to put it in the middle right there at C. I just really don't think it's a giant need. I know they're going to add some blocking to the tight end position there because Waller's more of a receiving threat. I just don't really understand it. It's a little confusing. But then again, you can't be a terrible grade because I guess it's a cheap deal. They got some cap. So I'll give it a C. Kind of a shocker. Really, I didn't expect that one to happen. The Corey Littleton is going to the Raiders. Speaking of the Raiders, there, I'm getting notifications on my phone like crazy, so I'm gonna have to check that real quick. What do we got here? We're gonna eventually Sean Lee going back to the Cowboys. We got Connor McGovern going to the Jets and Trey Boston re-signing with the Panthers. All right, had to check that. It was driving me nuts. Corey Littleton to the Raiders. I love this signing. Right off the bat, I was talking about it on Twitter pretty much right away. I'm giving it an A+. I thought he would get more money, $12 million per year, 3 year, $36 million. The Raiders had a big need at linebacker at multiple positions at the linebacker position. And this is one of the top-tier linebackers, one that's very much improving. He's very active in the run game, but then very impressive in the pass game, in coverage as well. Curious to see exactly where they put him because they got a bunch of guys they can put, adding him and Kwiatkowski. I think both those guys are capable of playing inside or outside in their 4-3. They could switch things up a little bit, give different looks. So I like the idea of that. Just looking at other teams, teams like the Giants mainly or the Packers, they were in on Littleton, but decided to go a different route. Much. How do I say it? Much worse, weaker route in terms of talent, but then not a whole bunch cheaper. A team like the Giants had the cap space. I'm just confused on what they're doing. Yeah, maybe they would have to spend a little more. It's not going to be anything ridiculous. I don't think he took that much of a pay cut to go play for the Raiders over the Giants. So I think a difference by $1 million maybe per year. So I just don't get why the Giants, couldn't do this. So it's confusing on that end, but it's a great deal for the Raiders. They got a lot better. $12 million per year is a little cheaper than I thought. I thought he would get. We were talking about the franchise tag, which would have paid him a few more million than that. So, and I thought he would kind of get around that deal. So, great deal for the Raiders. They got a lot better there. Then we got Philip Rivers, another one I'm back and forth on. Changing my grades, like the Tre Waynes one. I had a couple of those in this video. In my head, what's the grade gonna be? I'm back and forth changing this one because Rivers definitely on the decline. And then he gets $25 million. $25 million is a little more than I expected. So on the decline, $25 million. Doesn't have the receivers he had that he had on the Chargers as of now. So those are the downside. Another downside is, they had a lot of cap. They traded for Buckner. They signed Rivers. It kind of limits them cap-wise to make any more giant. Maybe they can make one more big one, impact one, but they do have other needs, in my opinion. So those are the negatives. The good things, I like the 1 year deal. There's the things to like and dislike about the 1 year deal. We'll kind of get into that, but there's a lot of factors in this one. I like the 1 year deal because you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on Rivers long term, but at the same time, you're limiting your cap this year just to get kind of a bridge quarterback, a guy that you don't believe in for long term. Well, you shouldn't, but you're hurting your cap somewhat this year because for a bridge quarterback, that's kind of a negative. But I do think he'll play better. We talked about the receiver unit needs to get better, but the offensive line is a much bigger upgrade from the Chargers. When he was at his worst last year, it was when he was under pressure. The Colts arguably have the best, at worst, I'd say the second best offensive line in football, maybe third at worst. So that's a good thing. I like him as a bridge quarterback, even though there's negative parts of that. I like him as a bridge quarterback. I'm gonna give it a B. Don't love it. Not crazy about it to put it in an A range, but I do like it overall. He's a good bridge quarterback. Maybe a couple more million than I expected. Thought 22 and a half range. Not the worst deal for the Colts. They had cap space. So overall, I like it. Probably, yeah, if I probably would slap a plus next to that, B plus for the Colts there. Interesting, though, because they don't have a first-round pick. They have 2 second-round picks. I think Jacob Eason is a good fit there. Will they package those to move up? That's kind of a good and a bad thing, because I think Philip Rivers is a great mentor for Jacob Eason. I think Eason's a good fit. They have the ammo to trade up, but that's kind of limiting them to get their receivers that they need. So kind of limiting the availability or the ammo to get what they need at the same time. So interesting. Vic Beasley to the Titans. I like this one. I like this one a lot. I'm going to give it an A. 1 year, $9.5 million. About right around where I thought he would get. Maybe if I had to predict, maybe it was a 2 year, but he would get $8.5 to $9 million a year. So 1 year, $9.5 million. So it's about the same thing. But why I like it is because when he was coming out of Clemson, I thought he was purely a 3-4 edge rusher, outside linebacker. Falcons gave different looks, but he was mainly a 4-3 end, so now he finally gets to play where I think he belongs, in a very good Vrabel scheme here in the Titans 3-4, opposite of Harold Landry. So I actually think he will make an impact. I think he can have maybe his best year here. I really do. So I think he'll fit it. It's kind of a trial thing. I still think they'll be in the market to draft a pass rusher if available in the first or second round. But I like this one. A low risk, high reward, potentially high reward. It's not guaranteed, but obviously. But I like this one here for the Titans and Vic Beasley for both sides. It's a great fit for him. Makes a lot of sense. Jordan Howard goes to. I thought the Eagles were really going to get him back. He goes to the Dolphins, and it's $5 million per year, 2 year, $10 million. And right off the bat, I like this one as well. I thought he was looking really good last year. He had to sit out some games. I thought he was looking really good last year. Surprise. I think, I know the Eagles like Miles Sanders, but he really needs somebody to compliment him. He's not the every down back. So they'll probably get somebody else. They could draft one if they have to. Zach Moss, whoever it may be. That's just the first guy that comes to mind that fits. But the Dolphins will pair Jordan Howard with who they draft. They have a load of draft picks. Now they don't feel like they absolutely have to use one in the first round. So I like this a lot. Cheap, $5 million per year. That's an A for me. And then we got Joe Schobert, another inside linebacker. We see Corey Littleton come off the board. We got Schobert coming off the board. I was thinking, how come those guys aren't coming off the board yesterday? And now today they do, as expected. And the deal here for Schobert is 5 year, $53.75 million. That's $10.75 million a year. I did like Littleton getting a little more money than Schobert. That's what happened. But I like these linebacker signings. I really like this one. I'm going to give it an A+. I think $10.75 million a year is a pretty good deal, but mainly I like the idea of Schobert on the Jags. I was tweeting about this as well. I think that gives him flexibility. I always viewed Myles Jack as an outside linebacker. He's been playing inside just because it was a very important position in their scheme, and they really were short on linebackers. Telvin Smith as well. So I think this gives you the ability to move Myles Jack to an outside linebacker in a 4-3, put Schobert on the inside, or gives you flexibility to move to a 3-4 defense, and where you play two inside linebackers, being Jack and Schobert. I think Jack will be better as a 3-4 inside than he is a 4-3 inside linebacker. And on top of that, Josh Allen, who I think can play, he's a good pass rusher in any scheme. He's proven that. But at Kentucky, he was a 3-4 edge rusher, so that makes sense as well. If Ngakoue does want to play, he can play either scheme as well. He was 3-4 at Maryland. But yeah, they could be trading him. But either way, I just like the fit. It allows you to do multiple different things and it allows you to get better, and it's a pretty good deal. So that's an A+ deal there for the Jaguars. Good job to them. And then we got Robert Quinn. Like I mentioned, there's a few in this video that I'm back and forth on, and this is definitely one of them. He gets a 5 year, $70 million, $14 million per year. And why this one's tricky is because the Bears, to me, it was a priority to get another proven pass rusher, another good pass rusher opposite of Khalil Mack, because he really needed help. And they need pressure from the opposite side of Khalil Mack there. And if you go into the draft without a first-round pick, you're not going to get, you probably could get a decent guy, solid guy that's for the future. But, instant impact guy where you're trying to get this defense back to elite where it was 2 years ago. Last year it was good. 2 years ago it was elite. You're trying to get it back. So it would make sense to spend their money on a pass rusher in free agency. So that's where I like it. I also like it because I think, pass rushers are getting paid more than $14 million per year, the good ones. The reasons not to like it is because, Robert Quinn's bounced around quite a few teams, and when he was bouncing around, struggling, he was playing in a 3-4, and then when he had, his better years, especially this last year, he's playing in a 4-3. So I really thought he would go to a 4-3 team, play defensive end. Not the case here. He goes to a 3-4 team again. Another shot there. 3-4 outside linebacker for the Bears. So that is risky, but the risk maybe bumps it down from an A, but overall I still like it. I would slap a plus by that, B plus, because he's playing opposite of Khalil Mack. They have Akeem Hicks in there. He's going to get, I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to get as many sacks as he did last year, but he's going to get pressure. He's going to play well. This Bears defense got a lot better. The more I'm back and forth on the A and the B. The more I'm talking about, I almost want to switch to an A. It is risky because $70 million is a lot of money, but the Bears got a lot better with this. It's a big upgrade over. We're going to give them an A. It's a big upgrade, just changing the grade right here. It's a big upgrade from where they had. They cut Leonard Floyd. He's going to get pressure opposite of Khalil Mack. If he can't do it, there's some kind of problem in there. The Bears got better with this. They got to resolve some things on the offensive side, but and maybe that's more important, but they needed to do this. Without having a first-round pick, you couldn't go draft Clavon Chason or whoever it may be. You had 2 second-round picks. They didn't want to trade up anymore. They've done too much of that in the past. So they got a lot better with this. I'm not too worried. If he went to a 4-3 team like the Falcons, I'd be a little worried, honestly. So that's probably that's not really unfair because the Bears have a very good defense. He is Khalil Mack, so I like it that he went to the Bears. That's a good thing for him and for the Bears. Drew Brees, I've kind of voiced my opinion on this a lot in the past. I wanted them to. I got nothing against Drew Brees, great quarterback. He's better than Teddy Bridgewater right now, perhaps. But I wanted them to go Teddy Bridgewater over Drew Brees because I think I don't want to say killing, but pretty close your future here because you're going to have to be in the market for another quarterback. Taysom Hill, hell of a football player. I love him on the Saints. He's not the franchise quarterback. If he is, I don't see them going the distance anymore. So I think you're hurting your future. He signs a 2-year deal. Was surprised it was not a 1-year deal. We'll see if he plays the 2. I kind of expect him to. So they got 2 years at this, which they very well could win it, and then it could pay off. I'm not saying they can't at all. Always a dominant team no matter what it seems like. So I wanted them to go Bridgewater over Drew Brees. That was just my feeling. I think because I think Bridgewater can win now, and he helps you long term. I was very high on Bridgewater coming out of Louisville. Still am. I feel like he's still fresh, and room to grow, but can still win now. But at the same time, it's hard to dislike this 2-year, $50 million. You got the same deal as Philip Rivers. It's hard to dislike it. I'm not going to give it an A because I would rather go, and Saints fans not going to be happy with me about it, but I'd rather go Teddy Bridgewater, and I'm going to stick to it. But I'm going to give it a B because it's hard to dislike this at all because 2-year, $50 million, you have a chance to win the Super Bowl the next 2 years. It's a good deal. Drew Brees, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He's back in the Saints. Not expecting a whole bunch of major moves after this, though, so it could look like, besides the draft, the same Saints team, which isn't the worst thing, but, yeah, that's kind of the downside. And then speaking of Teddy Bridgewater, I don't have the exact numbers at the time of recording this. We have a good feeling it's 3 years, $60 million. It's not going to be much different than that. It's going to be give or take there on the $60 million. Could be 62. Could be. I don't think it'll be lower than 60. I think it'll be the 60 to 62 range. Usually I want the exact contract details in this, but that's $20 million per year with room to move up for me not to change my opinion. This is an absolute A+++ deal. To very high on Teddy Bridgewater. I think he fits this system. Why? People say he fits the system because Joe Brady was with the Saints and when Teddy Bridgewater was there. A little bit of it. Joe Brady didn't run the offense there. He got familiar with the Saints pro-style offense. He kind of brings his twist on it to LSU, add a little more spread. Matt Rule, who's involved in the offense and the defense, he already came out and said they're going to give it's a multiple scheme. It's a multiple scheme. They're going to give a little bit kind of like what LSU did, a little bit of pro style, a little bit of spread. They're going to do a little bit of both. To me, Teddy Bridgewater's that guy that can do both. You can compare him to Joe Burrow in ways. Joe Burrow a lot more upside, obviously, but I think Teddy Bridgewater's a guy that can run that multiple scheme. I love the fit, and I love the money. $20 million per year. I would have been good if Teddy Bridgewater got that 25 or even more. I really would have been. Only concern, will he get hurt again? I just don't think he will. I'm not seeing anything that tells me he will. I love this deal for the Panthers. I do think they screwed themselves with the Cam Newton situation. It sounded like they wanted to trade him, but they wanted to hold off, wanted him to work out, and they held off a little bit too long on that, and then decided that he's good. They're gonna keep him, and now they decided they really want Teddy Bridgewater. We don't want Cam Newton anymore. They started this whole thing. Cam's kind of pissed then now too. What that creates is other teams have total leverage, full leverage. He will be traded for way under his value, which I think is a second round plus. But he'll be traded way, way under that, and he may even be released because teams they're going to release him anyways because the value, we got leverage, value's going to go down. He doesn't fit a whole bunch of different teams. So he really could be released. I would still think, maybe he gets traded for, something, small, which still sucks. But, the good thing is I like the Teddy Bridgewater situation here. So when Cam gets traded or whatever happens there, we'll talk about that on one of our channels. We got you for everything here. Everything. And I'm starting to wrap it up, but I'm not even done yet. Let's get rid of that A+. A couple more deals we want to talk about. Bills actually signed Mario Addison yesterday. I got the contract details now. Did not yesterday. 3-year, $30 million. Not in love with this one. He's had some production. He's getting up there in age. The Bills, I know they traded for Diggs, but they still had cap space to go a little bigger. I thought they would be in the market for Robert Quinn if the Bears were able to do it. I think the Bills would have been a great fit for him. Somebody like that, JPP signed, a couple more options. Thought they could have went bigger. That was kind of their problem. They're missing that big-time pass rusher. They have big-time everything else. They don't have big-time pass rusher. This is, another Jerry Hughes. I think Jerry Hughes is better. It's not going to do much for them. So it's not bad, but it's not good. I was a little confused by it. Lions signed Nick Williams, low risk, high reward, 2-year, $10 million, was pretty damn good with the Bears last year. You can't expect the same production. He had it kind of in, spurt, within 2-3 games. So we'll see, but low risk, high reward. Jets signed Alex Lewis. It's just getting desperate at this point. They swung, they missed on some offensive linemen. They're getting their guys back that were not good enough. It's just not a good situation. I feel like they know it's really not a good situation. They just had really no choice. So I give that a D. Redskins signed Kevin Pierre-Louis, another Bears rotation guy that actually looked pretty good. 1 year, $3.45 million. Low risk, high reward. They got Bostic back. I think Pierre-Louis has a chance to beat him out perhaps. So I think that's an A. Cardinals signed Jordan Phillips, 3-year, $30 million, $10 million per year. Risk because he only had one really good year, but it was a solid year last year. Cardinals needed more D-line that can get pressure. They get that there. Dolphins signed Emmanuel Ogbah, 2-year, $15 million. More of a 4-3 end, so I'm confused on what they're trying to do here because I kind of get the feel they're playing 3-4. So will he play end? Will he play outside linebacker? I just didn't know if it was a necessary move. $7.5 million per year is it's a good amount of money for a guy that's just going to be a backup, in my opinion. So I gave it a C. Panthers signed Stephen Weatherly, 2-year, $12.5 million. I like the idea. If they keep their 3-4, I like the idea of him as a 3-4 end. Was very limited in his role with the Vikings when he did play. He was pretty productive, I thought. So that's a low risk, high reward. B. Another low risk, high reward. Giants signed Kyler Fackrell, 1 year, $4.6 million, coming from the Packers. Not so much this year because the Packers got a whole bunch of pass rush, but the previous years he was always a rotation guy and was very limited in his role, but was very, very productive when he got the chance. So I think there's some low risk, high reward in that one. So I gave it an A for the Giants. I've not liked their free agency so far, but that one I like, but it's nothing major. Eagles signed Rodney McLeod, 2-year, $12 million. They let Jenkins go, which was surprising, but when hearing he wants $14 million per year, that makes sense. I like this one a lot. $6 million per year is pretty cheap deal. He's nothing spectacular for a safety. He's a good starting safety. $6 million per year is pretty solid. Raiders signed Jeff Heath, 2-year, $8 million. It's cheap, but I don't know what we're really going to get with this one. I think he's just a backup safety. I don't know what the plan is there. It sounds like they're in a hurry to sign. Not really desperate, but they're kind of in a hurry to sign all these guys at this moment. I love the Corey Littleton signing. There's some other signings I like. Still waiting on the Mariota contract details. I'm predicting I'm going to like that one. But yeah, this is one. It's a little strange. I don't know. That's just me there. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments on these. This is the third video with signing grades. We also have the franchise tag grades, and then on the other channel, the Goat House Plus, which you'll find a link down in the description, we have trade grades. So a lot of these on the channel. A lot more to come. Check them out. Subscribe to both. follow our Twitter. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.